Hello, let's talk about reflective teaching. What is it? Why it is important? What are the different critical techniques that you will use to make a reflection on your teaching techniques? How can you make a reflective teaching worksheet that can help you reflect on your teaching? And what are the processing questions that can help you to reflect on your teaching? At the end of the week, the pre-service teacher should be able to define what is reflective teaching, describe the significance of reflective teaching, identify the different critical reflection techniques that can be utilized in mathematics teaching and learning, design a lesson worksheet on reflective teaching in mathematics, and construct processing questions for the lesson worksheet on reflective teaching in mathematics. Now, what is reflective teaching? Reflective teaching means looking at what you do in the classroom and giving it a meaning by attaching the why question to what you go through. Reflective teaching is a process whereby teachers reflect on their teaching practices in order to examine the overall effectiveness of their instructive approaches. Reflective teaching involves using reflection techniques to convey, analyze, and deliver information in the goal of generating feedback. Reflection involves returning to experience, attending to feelings, and evaluating experiences. Reflection can be three main types. Reflection for action. Thinking about future actions with the intention of improving or changing a practice. Reflection on action. It involves a stepping back from the situation, meaning that it happens at some time after the situation has occurred. And reflection in action. It takes place while you are involved in the situation, often a patient interaction. But why reflective teaching is important? Because it can help to promote professional growth, it can improve your teaching methods, it can facilitate good teaching learning practice, it can boost teacher-student relationship, it can make your lessons more lively and interesting, it can enhance the teacher's problem-solving skills. Now, let's talk about the different critical reflection techniques. We have reflective journal writing, learning log, and learning journal. Let's talk about the first critical reflection technique. We have reflective journal writing. So what is reflective journal writing? A reflective journal is a place to write down your daily reflection entries. It can be something good or bad that has happened to you while you're teaching practice that you can self-reflect on and learn from past experiences. What should I write in my reflective journal? You can record any observations, experience, and thoughts in your teaching practice. You can write what you did, how you did, why you did, and how you felt. So, why you should write a reflection journal? It can help you to understand the things that have happened, to reflect on why it happened this way, to align future actions with your values and lessons learned from your past experiences, and to share and get your thoughts and ideas out of your head. Let's talk about the second critical reflection technique, the learning log. So, what is a learning log? Learning logs are like diaries students keep that record their reflections about what they are learning and how they are going about learning it. What should I write in my learning log? You can write important things you learned, strategies that can help you in understanding the lesson. You can write something that still puzzles you in the topic, and how does the lesson can relate to your own life. So why you should write a learning log? Learning log allows students to approach lessons in a way that is helpful to them. It encourages creativity. It expands and consolidates classroom learning. It develops research skills, and it can help in assessing the comprehension and progress of the student. Now, let's talk about the third critical reflection technique, the learning journal. So, what is a learning journal? Learning journals require students to reflect on what they have learned in a course. Students need to detail how their thinking has changed and what this means for their future studies. What should I write in my learning journal? Write the things you have learned in a lesson. Talk about the factors that affected your learning process. Write about how you feel when you're studying the lesson and reflect on what you have learned. So, why you should write a learning journal? Learning journal helps evaluate the action you tried. It captures things which you have learned. It is good for self-assessment. It helps you know your strengths and weaknesses in your lesson, and it helps you to identify what you still don't understand.
Let's proceed with the reflective teaching lesson worksheet. It consists of 6 parts: the objectives, the introduction, the content, the drills and exercises, the assessment, and lastly, the reflection. In doing the reflective teaching lesson worksheet, you must state first the objectives or your learning goals that you want to achieve in your discussion. Like you will see in our example teaching lesson worksheet, the topic is all about arithmetic sequence and series, and you need to clearly state what are your focus goals. Next, in the second part, the introduction, you need to provide a detailed explanation or description of your lesson. In the third part, the content, you need to present the sequence of your lesson and include what instructional materials that you will use in order to support the delivery of the lesson. On the fourth part, the drills or exercises, you need to create learning activities that is appropriate to the lesson in order to encourage students' participation. In the fifth part, the assessment, after every discussion, you need to assess your students' understanding to your topic. Thus, you need to make assessment tool for you to identify if your teaching strategy is effective with your students. Lastly, for reflection, you will identify the strengths and weaknesses of your teaching strategy that you use for your teaching learning process. Now, we will tackle about the processing questions for reflective teaching. So, what are these questions? These are the questions that can make you as a teacher look back over what or how they have learned and what teachers use when reflecting on their teaching practice. In other words, these questions can help you identify your strength and improve your weaknesses in your field. These are the examples of processing questions for reflective teaching. Number 1 example: what is happening? What can I do to rearrange students in this lesson? Number 2, why am I reacting this way? Number 3, how can I reward the instructions? Number 4, what worked in this lesson? How do I know? Number 5, why did things happen that way? Number 6, what were my intentions when I did that? Number 7, what triggered such a response from me? Number 8, what would I do the same or differently if I could reteach this lesson, and why? Number 8, what root cause might be prompting or perpetuating this student behavior? And lastly, what do I believe about how students learn?
Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a lot.